Hello, welcome to the webinar for degree and transcript legalization for Thailand teaching. Uh, Jordan and I will go through the special notes, introduction, the first step, also the process and expertising service, and also the example of the legalized degree for this country. To avoid the unexpected cost during you gain the work permit, so we would like you to have this document in hand before you leave your country, or you can mail this document to our office in Thailand or at your placement, but it must be arrived soon after you arrive here. And the process that proof that this document completely finished is you have to gain the Thai embassy stamp, like this picture is, we call it the red bird stamp. So this is the complete one, and it will be accepted by the Ministry of Education in Thailand.
Thanks, Gib. So your legalized degree and transcripts are used for your work permit here in Thailand. They are not needed in order to gain access to the country, but it is ideal for your documents to be legalized prior to arriving. But in the event that you're unable to get them back before arriving in Thailand, you are able to get them couriered to you here at the Explore Asia offices or to your school, as long as you receive them within 1 month of arriving in Thailand. Another important note is that we will not be able to place you until your degree and transcripts have been fully legalized. So make it a priority to do these first. It's super important that you get started with this right away if you haven't already, as this usually takes a while. You need to legalize your bachelor's degree. Do not worry about legalizing your master's degree if you have one. We only need one bachelor's degree certificate legalized. So if you have 2 bachelor's degrees, just choose one. And if you have an education degree, rather choose that one. So what you need to do is make a scan or copy of your original degree and transcripts. And all the steps that we talk about will be what you need to do with these copies. Please do not legalize your original documents. And like we mentioned in our introduction webinar, if your degree or transcripts are in any other language other than English, they will need to be translated into English and stamped as a true translation. This also applies if the word is in another language, such as Latin. We would need to see that word translated into English. It's important that it appears in English for the Thai immigration to see that you have a bachelor's degree. Once you have translated your documents, you can then get your degree or transcripts legalized. All right, the first steps. Your first step would be to get your original degree and transcript from your university. If you do not have an original, please contact your university and order one as soon as possible. If you are unable to get a physical copy of your degree or transcripts and you only have a digital copy available to you, please let us know so we can advise you further. It's important that you try your best to get a physical copy of your degree and your transcripts. You will then use your copy or scanned degree and transcripts to get legalized. It's important to bring your original documents with you to Thailand, as well as your legalized copies. Sometimes you might be requested to send your original degree and transcripts along with your copies to get legalized. Just ensure that your originals don't get any stamp or legalization. And last but not least, please do not laminate your documents, as they will not be accepted.
And in the next slide, we will suggest some expediting service for each country, but you also can search it from the search engines, because there are many companies doing that. The expediting service maybe not help to get it faster, but it helps you to not be stressful with this step of the document.
All right, starting with the USA, you'll be required to do a 4-step process. You take a scan of your degree and transcripts and send it to a notary. And then usually this gets done in the mail. They will then mail it back to you. And then you will send the scan to the Secretary of State. And once again, you'll have this mailed back to you. And thereafter, you will send it to the Department of State's Authentication Office. And finally, it gets sent to the Thai embassy in your jurisdiction in your state, where it will get the Thai embassy stamp, which is shown here at the bottom of the PowerPoint. On the bottom left is where you can see a map showing your state jurisdiction. If you're on the West Coast, it will be the LA office. If you're down the south or southeast, it will be the Washington, DC office. In the northeast, you'll have the New York office and Chicago in the North Center. These areas will most likely also apply to your visa applications down the line as well. Please take note of the approximate costs and timelines as shown here.
And here is the sample of the fully legalized degree for the people of the US. So you got the step 1 for the notary stamp, and then you got the from the Secretary of State signature, and then send it to authenticate in the Washington, DC. And here is the Royal Thai Embassy stamp, which is the final step. The expediting service for the US people, we recommend Monument Visa, which is about $125 per document.
For South African citizens, this is a 3-step process. Please note that this usually takes quite a long time. So we recommend that you get started immediately. The first step would be to take a scan of your degree and transcripts, and you'll send it through to SACA. And then you would send it through to DERCO. And the last step would be sending it through to the Thai embassy in Pretoria. Please reach out to us if you're not hearing back from anyone for any of these steps, and we can assist you further, and take notes of the approximate costs and timeframes. Thank you.
And here is the sample of the document that is complete from 3 steps. For the South African people, you got the stamp and the cover letter from SAGA, and here is the page from DERCO, and get the Royal Thai Embassy stamp right here. The expediting service, we recommend 1 to 3 attested, which is about 1,560 African rand. We do recommend you to contact them through the email or WhatsApp, because their Facebook is not active much, so maybe they didn't post any content recently.
For anyone from the UK, it's a bit quicker than other countries, as well as South Africa. It's a 3-step process. You take a scanned copy of your degree and transcripts and send these to be notarized. You then get your documents legalized at the Foreign and Commonwealth offices. And the last step would be getting the Thai embassy, getting the stamp at the Thai embassy in London. This does include everyone from Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. And please note the approximate cost if you do it yourself.
And here is the sample of the fully legalized from the step 1, the solicitor stamp, and step 2, the apostle stamp. It's only UK people that you can get this stamp. And next is the stamp from the Royal Thai Embassy. Expediting service for the UK people is Apostle of the Hague, which is around $141 per document.
Ireland is quite similar to the UK. You need to notarize the scan of your degree and transcripts, and then send it through to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And the final step is sending your degree and transcripts to be legalized at the Thai embassy in London. So the first 2 steps are done in Ireland, and the last step is done in London. Please take notes of the costs and timeframes.
And here is the stamp from the notary state, and then you got the stamp from the authentication process, and finally the Royal Thai Embassy stamp. The expediting service is the same to the UK people are also of the Hague, but you can use this service in the stage of the apostle stamp and also the embassy stamp. So the solicitor process, you have to do it by yourself. And the cost is quite similar to the UK people for 141 per document.
For Canada, you have the 3-step process once again, pretty straightforward. You take your scanned copy of your degree and transcripts to get notarized, then goes to the authentication office, and then to the Thai embassy in Canada. There are 2 Thai embassies in Canada, so you will send it to the one for your state, and please note the approximate cost to do it yourself.
And the sample of the notary step is like here, and then you get the stamp of the authentication stage and then the Royal Thai Embassy stamp. The expediting service, it's capital authentication, which is about $175 per document.
Australia is also pretty straightforward as well, with a 3-step process, starting with notarizing your degree and transcripts, and then getting the copy authenticated at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And lastly, sending your copies to get legalized at the Thai embassy in either Sydney or Canberra. And please take note of the cost to do it yourself. It's a lot cheaper than the expediting service.
Yes, for the notary stage, it's going to be look like this document, and you receive the stamp from the authentication. And here is the final step from the Royal Thai Embassy. The expediting service also Australia, that you can select which service you would like to use, like the notary service or the authentication or the embassy attestation.
New Zealand is very similar to Australia. You get your scanned copies notarized and then authenticated and lastly legalized by the Thai embassy in Wellington. Please see the approximate costs.
And here is the notary step of the people from New Zealand. And this is, you get the authenticate by the Department of Internal Affairs like this, and then you get the stamp from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade like this. And then the final step, it's from the Royal Thai Embassy. BVS Global Expediting Service is about $720 per document.
For Europe, we know there are many different countries, but it is mostly a 3-step process, which we have spoken about already, which would be starting with the notarization and then the authentication and then legalizing at the Thai embassy in your country. The only difference in Europe is that you may be requested to go in person to complete these steps. Please let us know, though, if you're having a problem with any of these steps so we can assist you further.
And the expediting service is about €160 per document. Okay, so we finished the detail of the webinar for legalization of the degree and the transcript. This is the document that we require from the people who are the degree holder only. So for the non-degree holder, you don't need to process this document. And if you have any questions or if you would like to have further information, please send a message through an email or set up a call with us. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.